This year, in an effort to explore technology and how it's revolutionizing sports training, we developed a series called TechTime. Now, in these TechTime sessions, we sit down with experts in the field to learn from the best. Here are just some of the highlights from this past year. In our first TechTime session, I sat down with Matthew Glick, CEO of Gipper, as well as Jared Hunt, Athletic Director of Academy ISD in Texas, to share insights on building a unique brand identity to stand out in the competitive world of athletic programs. Here are two clips from that discussion. First, Jared talks about what your brand says about you and your organization's culture.
We want people to understand that when they see our brand, it's not really just the logo; it's the culture, it's the people inside. And we said that even at the college level, everybody's got facilities, everybody's got the logo, everybody's got this, but we use our branding to tell our culture and who we are and what we're about. So but that's also how we conduct ourselves on and off the field as well. So we've got to do our job in that part. But
And in the second clip, Matthew explains how your social media brand isn't dissimilar to your facility.
From a visual perspective, when you use your brand effectively, when you get it out of your community and you're doing so in a professional way, in a way that's consistent and build recognizability, it's an extension of that work and it influences folks from a perception standpoint in a really positive way. And on the flip side, if you do it poorly, it can have a negative perception, even if that's not the reality of the truth of what's happening inside the building. I think that's a really important point. Oftentimes people talk about the quality of facilities, how the facilities are a front door, to the program. And if you walk into a facility and it's got a bunch of, cans on the floor and trash everywhere, you're probably not gonna have a great perception of, that department, maybe even that athletic director for right or wrong. The same thing has happened digitally, right? Social media, your digital channels, this is the digital front door to your program. And so you need to think about it in the same way.
You can't turn on the news or have a conversation at the dinner table these days without the conversation drifting to AI. So I was joined by Sarah Ray from Volt Athletics, who explored the powerful AI technology and organizational tools that coaches use to create individualized training plans at scale. Sarah brings more than a decade of experience in coaching and program management within performance athletics.
Volt is an AI-powered strength and conditioning platform, and we'll get into what the AI means and what it does, because if you're paying attention to the news, AI is a very hot topic, and our AI is not the same as ChatGPT. So we're gonna demystify what the AI is and how it functions and how it helps coaches, teams, schools, and programs of all sizes better scale their professionals, reach more athletes, and optimize the performance training of users of all types.
She also explained how AI gives athletes and coaches a smooth transition between coaches and programs.
Consolidating methodology, giving the administrator oversight into what's happening across my field, giving the athletes a really smooth, seamless experience so that when they move from transition one coach to the next, they're seeing the same exact thing. That new coach has that historical data, so it's very easy to transition an athlete's program from one phase to the next. The data export was fantastic, and the communication tools allow me as an administrator to talk to my coaches, to talk to the end users and the athletes and help solve problems even from afar.
Now, let's dive into technology and mental health with Casey Citadino from Athletic Mindset, Mindy McCord, head women's lacrosse coach at the University of South Florida, as well as Liz Bevel, head women's lacrosse coach at Lemoyne College.
And we can stimulate in practice situations that help them to grow through it prior to learning about it and being in a reactive state. So, again, every player has a different mental makeup. You can absolutely increase performance through mental skills training, just like you do technical and physical training. And it's a must now if we want to be high performing as coaches, if we want to be high performing as athletes and high performing athletic departments. Programs like this can bridge the gap to figure it out sooner than later.
Casey talks about the greats and how the zone affects performance.
You look at, the greatest athletes of all time, the Tiger Woods, the Michael Jordans, the Kobe's, right? No matter what was happening off the field in their personal lives, when they got into their event or the big game, like they could flip the switch and be in the zone, right? And be so present. And so it's amazing for me to hear some of these stories, because I think the ultimate goal here is improving performance for these athletes and helping them be able to basically get into the zone and be there all the time, and understand that if they can fully, dive into the mental aspect of their game, it's going to affect all pieces of their life.
Lastly, I was joined by Jerry DiFilippo, the head trainer and owner of Challenger Strength, Justin Ochoa, founder of Gem Session Foundations and basketball performance coach in Indianapolis, Barry Butt, the founder of Premier Strength and Conditioning, as well as Luke Martin for Vitruve, to learn about velocity-based training, better known as VBT. This clip goes over some of the basics of VBT. What exactly is velocity-based training, and what are some of the key principles that underpin it?
Yeah, so I think the first thing to consider with that is the name itself, velocity-based training, right? Kind of centered around the fact that what we are doing, the loads we are using, and what we are trying to achieve with our lifts are centered around the velocity in which we are moving the barbell, let's just say, for example, here, centered and connected to what our goals are. The spectrum, the force velocity curve, kind of which movements and which weights involve more force output, and then you kind of just slowly move down that curve into what involves more speed and the velocity side of things. The biggest thing to consider and remember with this is that the speeds we are seeing with each individual lift is what's guiding us from a choosing load standpoint, versus the other way around, where you would pick your load first and kind of work in.
While later, Barry advises coaches on how to incorporate VBT into their strength programs.
It's got a link to strength. It's got a link to power. It can tell you a lot about what's going on with your athlete that specific day, what their fatigue levels are, how their recovery is. So it's really a tool to implement into any training program that you're already doing with your athletes. It's not a training method that you're going to, I'm going to switch to the VBT training method. It's just simply another way to measure, versus just saying this is how much you lifted. Now it gives you an opportunity to look at the quality of the lift versus just how much you lifted, just the quantity of it. And it teaches intent. Jerry alluded to that. It 100% teaches intent. You'll get an athlete that will move a load at, basically move it hard enough to lift that weight, but not really as fast as they could. And you give them a little feedback as to, hey, push a little harder. And now the numbers go up regardless of taking load off or adding load, just by simply doing the exercise with more intent and better quality.
Now, to watch full episodes of Tech Time, scan the code on the screen right now or visit coachad.com/techtime. And make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter to find out about all the new Tech Times on the horizon.